Welcome back to my channel. Forget Norgaard. Arsenal wasted millions signing 3-10 dud despite win versus Wolves. Arsenal extended their lead at the top of the Premier League with a dramatic late win over Wolves at the Emirates Stadium, thanks to an injury-time own goal. The Gunners knocked on the door for the entire game before finally breaking the deadlock in the 70th minute as Bukayo Saka's corner bounced back off the post and hit goalkeeper Sam Johnstone in the back before bouncing in. Wolves thought they'd snatched a point as Tolu Arokodare headed home in injury time, but Saka crossed again and forced a second own goal, this time from Yerson Mosquera, just minutes later to steal all 3 points. The win puts Mikel Arteta's side 5 points clear at the top of the table before Man City's trip to take on Crystal Palace on Sunday, but the manager will surely be concerned by what he saw during the game. Victor Gyökeres was a waste of money. While Arsenal sit top of the league, there are definitely concerns about some of the performances they have been putting in this season. Defensively, there is no doubting that the Gunners are one of the top sides in Europe, regardless of which defenders they have available to them. But going forward, they don't look to be sharp, and there are major concerns about their big summer signing, Victor Gyökeres. The Swede, who signed from Sporting CP in a £64 million deal, had been expected to solve a lot of the issues in front of goal that the North London club had been dealing with in recent years. But it's fair to say that as we approach the halfway point of the season, he has done nothing of the sort. So far, Gyökeres has found the back of the net 6 times in all competitions, which is considerably less than most would have been expecting. But the big concern isn't the lack of goals, and more the lack of all-round play and form that he's showing as part of the team. His performance against Wolves was so bad that he was given just a 3-10 rating. It's no coincidence that the team has looked considerably more threatening with Gabriel Jesus leading the line in the last 2 games after he has come off the bench, while Mikel Merino seems to be more of a threat in the box with his aerial prowess and technical qualities too. Arteta got Gyökeres' decision wrong. The summer window was dominated by reports that Arteta was keen on signing both Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyökeres, but he had to make a decision between them. He clearly opted for the 27-year-old former Coventry man, but it seems like it was a bad call. Sesko has struggled at Man United, so there is no guarantee he would have done better, but it seems clear now that Gyökeres isn't a good fit for this Arsenal side and the way they play, or more importantly, the way teams play against them. His lack of technical quality means he struggles to hold the ball up against physical center backs with his back to goal, and his lack of sharp movement means he isn't getting chances in the box like he was in Portugal. If Arsenal are going to win the Premier League, or even a cup competition, then it may be in spite of Gyökeres' style and form, rather than because of it. The fans are beginning to turn, and there must be a realization that they could have put the money towards signing someone else instead, who fits what they want better. Bigger picture, but in frustration born from love, expectation, and an unwavering belief that Arsenal Football Club must always strive for excellence rather than settle for mediocrity hidden behind the glow of a victory. The win against Wolves may have delivered 3 points, it may have lifted smiles across the Emirates and beyond, and it may have strengthened Arsenal's position in the league table, but it must not blind us to uncomfortable truths that demand attention if this club is to reach the level it so clearly desires and deserves. Among those truths is the growing concern surrounding a signing that, despite the result, looked painfully out of place, underwhelming, and alarmingly ineffective. Forget Norgaard for a moment. Forget comparisons. Forget excuses. Because what we witnessed was a performance that simply does not justify the millions spent, a display that barely scraped a 3 out of 10, and a reminder that recruitment errors can linger long after the final whistle. Arsenal have evolved. Under Mikel Arteta, the club has re-established an identity built on control, intensity, positional intelligence, and collective responsibility. Every player is expected to contribute to both phases of play, to understand space, to execute under pressure, and to elevate the team rather than merely occupy a shirt. This evolution has raised standards across the squad, which is why poor performances now stand out more sharply than they once did. Against Wolves, while the team as a whole managed to grind out a victory through structure, resilience, and moments of quality, one signing stood as a glaring exception, a weak link in an otherwise coherent chain, a passenger in a match that demanded presence, authority, and conviction. From the opening minutes, it was evident that something was off. Positioning was inconsistent, decision-making hesitant, and the tempo of play repeatedly slowed when the ball reached this player. Where Arsenal usually moved the ball with purpose, creating triangles and angles to break opposition lines, there was instead a pause, a second too long on the ball, a sideways pass when a progressive option was needed, or worse, a careless turnover that invited unnecessary pressure. Against a Wolves side content to sit deep and look for transitions, such errors are not just minor flaws, they are invitations to danger. What makes this even more concerning is that this was not a one-off. This was not an isolated bad day at the office that can be dismissed with a shrug and a promise of improvement. This performance felt like a continuation of a pattern that has quietly developed since the player's arrival. Moments of promise have been rare and fleeting, while the shortcomings have been persistent and increasingly difficult to ignore.
In a team that relies so heavily on cohesion and mutual understanding, one player consistently operating half a step behind the required level can disrupt the entire system. The comparison to Norgaard is unavoidable, not because Arsenal were ever realistically expected to sign him, but because it highlights the type of profile that thrives in the Premier League. Norgaard is not flashy, not a headline grabber, but he understands his role, executes it with discipline, and provides a platform for others to shine. He reads danger early, positions himself intelligently, and rarely wastes possession. Watching him, you see a player who maximizes his attributes and minimizes his weaknesses. Watching Arsenal's underperforming signing against Wolves, you saw the opposite, a player exposed by the pace of the game, unsure of his responsibilities, and unable to impose himself in any meaningful way.